Yeah, we got to start over. Well, welcome everybody to the Quitting Porn live stream, the foundations of a legitimate recovery process. My name is Devon, and what I do all the time is I help men with to end their sexual enslavement. That is my mission. That is my life. That is my goal. I am all about working with men one-on-one, and hopefully through YouTube now, being able to share a little bit of that one-on-one experience with you as well. So I help men all the time break free from sexual addiction. Also, my information's over here, so if you see me looking over, that's why. One of the things I want to note right away is tonight we can't possibly cover it all, but I am really looking forward to giving you these 5 principles that are going to, reach down deep and hopefully guide in the long term sort of recovery process. Now, you might be a little uncomfortable with like recovery process, addiction. If I'm using some of these terms, maybe you don't really think porn can do that. Stick with me. So let's talk up front about whether or not porn is a problem. Is porn a problem, Devon? Well, if you're on the fence, listen to this list here from Larry and Wendy Maltz. Close the book. They put together a bulleted list of some of the troubles that porn can cause. I want you to listen to this. It says, porn can conflict with your values, beliefs, and life goals. And if you're a Christian, absolutely. It can compromise your ability to be honest and open in a relationship. Yeah. It can upset and compete with an intimate partner. It can harm your mental and physical health. It can make you less attractive as a sexual partner. It can cause sexual desire and functioning difficulties. It can shape your sexual interests in destructive ways, and it can cause a variety of family, work, legal, and spiritual problems. That's from the book The Porn Trap by Wendy and Larry Maltz. When I read a list like that, I don't know about you, but it seems disconnected a bit, and something that I've noticed about the struggle with pornography for a lot of people is that we have lived so long in a society that kind of accepts the addiction lifestyle as normal that we don't even know that we're not living in the freedom that God designed us to live in. So when I read something like that, I kind of go, but is it really, that big a problem or whatever? And that is because when I look at my scenarios, like it says that it can mess up my relationship with my significant partner, my significant other. When I look at something like that, the old me, who is living inside of that society that found this to be normal, the old me would go, well, my sexual relationship with my wife, it is what it is, right? And it's like I've never really questioned whether or not it was totally as it should be. I just assumed that what it was is what it should be. And we don't realize that as we start to go into this recovery process, as we start to get rid of porn from our lives, like the blinders come off and we go, oh my gosh, there's a freedom beyond that I've never experienced before. And so, as we're going through this process, and as you go through this process, you're going to wake up pieces of yourself that you didn't know were missing. We're going to come out of that living just as it has been in the culture, creating this normal relationship with addiction, and come into something new, a freedom of personal choice, and a lot of great stuff. So, porn is a real problem. And it's not just a problem in like big doses, large doses. There's a guy named Timothy Jennings who made the comment that porn is a problem at any dose because it immediately changes the structure of your brain as you ingest it. Just like it, if you think about a drug like cocaine or something like that, it's the same thing. It's like a little dose of cocaine's bad, It's not a good thing to even have a little, Same here, where when porn gets in there, it immediately starts rewriting your brain so that you're accepting a different level of intimacy. You're triggered by different things. You have different sexual processes immediately put in place. And we can feel the impact of that. If you've interacted with porn very much, when you watch it, you're different when you watch it. Okay. So here's some things to know before we get started on the 5 pieces just some things to know that I wanted to say up front, maybe a little bit of a disclaimer, but hopefully these things encourage you. First, this is an incredibly common problem. Harry Schomburg, I'm reading a book by him right now, and he's got some research in it that notes pretty much what I've been hearing for a while, which is if you go to church, probably about 50% of the people that are there are struggling with pornography on a regular basis. Now that's mind-blowing to a lot of people, and it certainly was to me when I found it out. And I don't know how you relate to that immediately, whether that scares you or encourages you. In some sense, it does both to me. It encourages me because I know that my struggles are shared, and having a shared struggle means I'm not all alone, and you're not all alone. You should know that. But of course it's scary too, because the state of our churches, if you're like me, you care about your church. You care about the people who are sitting in the pews and whether or not they can know God. And if we're going to care about that, then we got to figure out how to get rid of this pornography thing in the church so that we can commune with the one who made us. So it is an extremely common problem. That's the first thing to know. The second thing is there are people in the world who will not kick you when you're down. Now, I say this because I imagine the hardest part right now about the idea of coming out of your interactions with porn, whether you would classify that as an addiction or just something you like to do. However, if you recognize that it's a problem and you're wanting to get away from pornography, it's important to know that there are people in this world that when you tell them that you have a problem, they're not going to go gasp, and be surprised and shame you, frankly. I don't know if you've heard that language before, but, if you delivered your story to me, I would listen and nod, and I'm going to end with, I love you, because I do. And there are people like me all over the place who are ready to receive your story and ready to walk with you through this process. We're going to talk more about that in a little while, but I want you to know that your honesty will be rewarded. It'll be rewarded, if by no one else, by God. But that there are people faithful to God who are ready to receive, and those who know how to receive in a more technical way, and can help you in that process of both sharing and coming out in a gracious way. So I hope that encourages you. It encouraged me. So the next one to know is, things to know before we start, is fear plays big. There's this phrase I like. It says, the fear will keep us here. It basically means that right now you're in a process of reintroducing fear into your life over and over and over again through pornography. I don't have time to defend that right now. I'm just letting you know that at the end of the day, it's touching down to the deep root systems of your survival and your need to be safe. And so what it's touching is where you're afraid. And moving away from pornography will feel scary. And it's scary for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, telling people about what's been going on, that's scary. And it's also scary, the idea that maybe I'll find out that I'm not strong enough to do this. I know that got me. It scared me to think like, if I keep using pornography, if I kind of ignore it, then I can kind of pretend like maybe it's getting better, or, oh, I dealt with it well the other day, or not so well today. And you get to kind of hide behind ambiguity. But what's really happening there is I'm afraid that if I go up against pornography, I'm not going to win. And that is hugely problematic. So trying to get away from pornography is scary. But it's good to know that that fear is unjustified in at least one sense. It's unjustified in the sense that you will enter into greater and greater freedom, greater and greater control of yourself, greater and greater choice, greater and greater relationship with God if you get rid of this. So all that fear about what you will lose ultimately becomes lesser than that which you will gain. You will gain something greater than that which you will lose. And really cool part about that is that you start to learn how to deal with your life without using compulsive behaviors, right? You don't have to use porn because you have other answers. good answers, like real ones that help out. And you don't have to live that half life. Okay, the last thing I want you to know before we officially go into the 5 points is that I've put together a huge resources page with a ton of great stuff. There are a lot of people working on this problem, more and more, which is awesome. And I want to give you that resource. It's warfareofgrace.com/resources. That's my website, Warfare of Grace. That's my company. And you can go there and just peruse all the stuff. I've got podcasts. I've got YouTube channels. I've got, different tools that you can use to heal. I've got, blogs and all sorts of stuff, and a ton of books, recommended books for what you could read to really dive in here. So I encourage you to do that and peruse that and start to create a little bit of maybe excitement over change, because there's the fear, but there's also this chance, hey, you could be free. And that's a good thing to develop. Okay, that all being said, that it's an extremely common problem. There are people in the world that won't kick you when you tell them the story. And that fear plays a major part, that the fear will keep you trapped in pornography, in enslavement to pornography. And that you have resources at your fingertips. Knowing all that, let's go into the 5 points that we're going to talk about tonight for how to begin the journey of recovery. And I'm using the term recovery, for the record, not necessarily all-inclusively, like I'm not calling you necessarily an addict. I'm saying in order to get away from porn, right? A recovery from porn. A recovery from that use. That's what we're talking about. So, let's move in here. Like I said, these are 5 points. They are required, but not totally comprehensive. So here we go. I broke it into 2 sections tonight. The first one has 2 points, and this one is community. So community needs to be involved in a move away from porn. In some sense, porn has taken your community captive. We can talk about that for a long time. But basically, porn has become a way for you to connect most intimately with something. And because it conflicts with beliefs and it conflicts with your relationship with Christ, if somebody comes and tries to be intimate with you and they don't know about what's going on inside of you, then they're always held at arm's length. It creates emotional distance from your community. Now, we could talk about that for a long time, but I want to get to the 2 points that are underneath this element of community. The first one is the element of honesty. There is no road to healing that doesn't involve being honest. Now, when I say that, that means telling somebody what has gone on. At first, you're going to tell, one person. You're going to just entrust one person. You find one that you can really resonate with and tell them. This is where a lot of people find therapists or counselors really, really helpful. And for the record, I got some slots open. So if you want to talk to me, I'm in. Okay, please. With that being said, this is the question: who can you share your whole story with? Some people are able to share with a family member, a really good, trusted family member. Some people have a really good friend. Some people have a pastor at the church who they just really resonate with. Sometimes there are pastors at the church who are encouraging people to come and confess. This might be a good way to do it. But that honesty, telling what you're actually doing, not holding little pieces back, not playing the game, just uncovering the thing, is going to be absolutely required. And I have to say, it's terrifying. But once you tell someone, you feel a load come off your shoulders. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. It's good stuff. And I can't help but just think back to Scripture and go, I wonder if that's why it tells us to confess our sins to one another, because there's this immediate element of healing that comes from it. There's fear, and there is consequence, of course, because we know that when we tell someone something, we can't expect them to be emotionless. We can't expect them to not be people. We can't expect them to have no reactions. But if they come back in love, they will care, they will hurt with you, and they will encourage you to continue on in your healing recovery. And, who knows, depending on your story, there might be steps that are needed to take for you to step into appropriate boundaries and that sort of thing. More on that in a minute. Just know that honesty is a beautiful thing. It creates immediate dividends. And then as you live in honesty, you get to put so much energy or you get to recover so much energy as you're not dealing with all your lies anymore. You're putting them in the past. So look at the next one. Okay, number 2, under community. First one was honesty. The next one is accountability. And I'm sure you've heard this a lot of times. Accountability and honesty are a little bit different. I think together they constitute what I would call transparency, which is like honesty is like getting it all out there. And then accountability is being willing to walk in honesty with other people. So that's the real community element. Now, I got to pause because there's a big problem in this. We got to do a church health check. And what that means is this. Not every church, the blunt, honest truth is not every church is ready to receive someone who's struggling with this. Because a lot of churches are amazing churches. I don't want to speak against any particular church. And I love that we have diversity. I like that. However, if you're in a church context that doesn't encourage confession, maybe they really would rather not. Maybe when you go and tell them, they're going to, they're going to go through that. Maybe they're not the people that can receive it. Or maybe you live in a church tradition that doesn't emphasize forgiveness, and by emphasize it, I mean acknowledge it. I just want to say that's not a great place to share. Nothing against your church, but that's not a good environment for you to share in. So if you're going to have healthy accountability with someone, you need someone who's able to receive in grace and then give you the truth. And by give you the truth, I mean, how can I help you do this thing? Not whack, whack over the head. Look, I get it. I come from a kind of fundamental background. I like some hellfire in my sermons and that sort of thing. But the truth is, you can't beat this thing out of somebody. I'll give you that in a little capsule real quick. Think about it this way. If I'm acting out, if acting out meaning masturbating to porn, if I'm looking at porn, if I'm seeking porn in order to deal with my emotional problems, what happens when I go to people who then increase the load of my emotional pain? Well, the fact is it's going to send me into a tailspin, and I'm going to go look at porn a bunch more. Okay? I'm not saying those people are necessarily wrong. I'm saying that if you want to heal, and you want to heal, I'm going to say faster, better, cleaner. If you want to heal, you go to somebody who can receive in grace and help you along in truth. Think carefully about your church. You don't have to think very long. I imagine you know basically off the top of your head. If you've been a part of a church for very long, they have styles, they have emphases. Is that a word? I don't know. They have a tone, right? And you're going to know whether or not those are the kinds of people who can walk you through this. If they're not, it's time to find a place that is. You don't have to change churches. Just find a place where they are actively doing confession, where they are engaged with helping people through this. Maybe there's a church nearby that has a strong recovery program that you can go and be a part of. That'd be cool. In doing so, maybe you can bring some of that tone back to your church. That'd be cool. Anyway, not that that's your point right now. You don't have to think about going into ministry or something like that at this point, or that whole process. All you need to think about, okay, where can I walk with somebody in honesty? Where can I have that accountability? Somebody I'm going to talk to regularly about this. Somebody that's going to help me keep this in front of me. Find your person. Now that also includes my next point. It's kind of between the two categories. So we had the first category of community, and under it we had honesty and accountability. Under that, we have commitment. Okay, that the second area is the area of commitment. And up front, I want to say that or the first point is structure. And I want to say that structure comes from a lot of places. This here, what I want to talk about, is becoming a part of something official so that you can follow a process and move out of this thing. There are 3 examples I have of this. One would be getting connected with a counselor or therapist, somebody that you can walk through the process with, work out the things and get everything in line in your story. Another example would be maybe a recovery group, like kind of a 12 steps group, or my personal favorite, the 7 Pillars of Freedom by Pure Desire out of Idaho. They're awesome. It's amazing stuff. Freed a lot of guys. That's a great program. But in general, you're going to want a curriculum of some kind. When I say that, what I mean is this. A wise man once told me, the guy that was helping me get out from my sin, he told me, Devon, if you put yourself into the machine of this curriculum, you'll come out clean. And this is the idea. Maybe instead of thinking, what do I need to do to get free? I say, I need something to tell me what I need to do. And then I'll find out how to be free along the way. A curriculum allows you to start at page 1, go through the curriculum, and at the end, you've done the things. And if you've kept your heart in it and you've stayed invested, then you're going to heal. This is not a particularly mysterious process in a lot of ways. God does his thing, which is awesome, but God is faithful. He comes through. So I encourage you to get some sort of structure. Personally, I think you need to be in a recovery group. I can't say that exclusively. I can't say that God has never healed anybody without a recovery group. I'm saying that something like porn attachment needs a large response, and that response needs to be community-based. And so a recovery group is just like, great. Now, just like you did with the accountability group, it's going to be important that as you get involved with a recovery group, that you do just a little bit of health assessment. It's important that you're not a part of a group that's just like, they're just telling all their problems, or they're just acting out. Everybody's watching porn every week, but they're just coming and confessing it, and they're going back and watching porn, coming back and confessing it. Nobody's got any freedom. That's not a healthy group, right? Or if you've got a group leader that's really intense, maybe too intense, maybe find a different group. It's also important to note that you personally matter in this equation a lot. It matters that you find somebody that you feel comfortable with, that you can talk to freely, in a group where you feel truly safe. Now, I will encourage you to know that you're not going to feel safe in a lot of environments. Like, it's very difficult to go through this process and feel perfect the whole time. Matter of fact, probably impossible. But what isn't impossible is finding a place where you know that these people have your best interests at heart. That's a good place. That's a good place to be. Okay. So that's structure. Find therapist, counselor, recovery group, some kind of curriculum so that you have an order to go in as you walk yourself out of this struggle. All right, so we've said community. Under that was honesty and accountability. Then we said commitment. Under that was structure. Here's the next one. Disciplines. Now, we're at the very beginning of the process here. You're just now considering what it would mean to enter into some sort of recovery. Well, disciplines are going to have, I'm going to say, the longest benefit in your life. Here's how I know. You've developed a life where porn is something that you engage with for a reason. That reason affects the way you live your life a lot of the time. And as you get into recovery process, you'll learn more and more about that. How literally you can be setting yourself up days or even weeks ahead of acting out. Somebody that has a rhythm of acting, looking at porn once every 2 weeks might think, it's not that big a deal. But they're setting themselves up for it in rhythm every 2 weeks. And so it's deeply embedded in a lot of their systems. For someone who is constantly looking at pornography, I think we could see how that might be the case, that it would be embedded deeply in our lifestyle. So here's the point. Dealing with pornography requires lifestyle change, and the best way to do that is through disciplines. And when I say disciplines, I mean spiritual disciplines. Let's go. Now, I don't know if you get excited about that. I hope you do. If you don't, know this. When you sit down to pray, God shows up. And I'm really hoping that you will give him the time necessary for you to get in communion with him. Now, disciplines branch beyond just, what we would consider super spiritual maybe. But prayer is definitely one of them. You're going to have some disciplines surrounding what kind of content you take in. You're going to have disciplines surrounding how often you check in with that person you find, how often you're being honest. You're going to have disciplines about what happens when I look at porn again, because just being real, let's be real. You start on this process, you're probably not going to completely stop looking at pornography today, right? That's very unlikely. It's possible, but not likely. The point being, your disciplines are going to take a lot of different forms, but they have to rewrite the way you live your life in long form. I'm going to name 3 here real quick that I hope you will invest in right away as far as disciplines. The first is I hope you will start getting sleep. This is a personal favorite of mine. People who don't sleep well are high-strung. They have emotional turbulence all the time. They can't operate well, and they can't make decisions well. If you want to start fighting your need for pornography, choose sleep instead of staying up late. I promise, you're not losing anything. Okay? And in doing so, becoming fully rested, you know what's going to happen? Your brain is going to more often be able to operate out of your moral center. You're going to be able to make the choice to not look a lot better. You're going to have more, conviction. There it is. More conviction about it. So, sleep. The second discipline I think you need to immediately employ is having regular check-ins with someone. Once you find that person, you say directly to them, I need 15 minutes of your day 3 times a week. Now, a lot of people I know do once a day. They just check in with somebody once a day, like at 6 a.m. every day. That's pretty intense. Not bad at all. Do that, please. But at first, maybe start leaning in by just getting in this rhythm of having the discipline, having someone that you're talking to and is asking you intentional questions. Did you look at pornography? Do you feel connected to God? What are your biggest fears right now? Have you lied to me? These are great questions, and you should be asking them. You should have somebody who is asking them with you, or to you, rather. Okay. Oh, so first discipline was sleep. Second discipline, regularly connecting with somebody. And third is to start to ingest some sort of healthy information surrounding recovery. Now, you don't necessarily have to become a recovery guru and start sucking everything in and just tons and tons of information. But what would be a good idea would be to be getting a constant trickle of healthy information into your head so you have something to think about. What if instead of thinking about porn, I want to do it so bad, you were thinking, well, I heard this guy, he was talking about porn. He was talking about how it, when you look at porn for too long, it turns your brain into like cocaine brain. Okay? Maybe that's how you say it. The point is, you have something else to think about in terms of your addiction. You're feeding your mind, increasing your awareness, and giving yourself new handles with which to handle porn. Good stuff. So there's 3 disciplines that I hope that you will consider putting into play as you're trying to redo the way your life operates. There are so many more. There's so much more work to do, but it can be done incrementally. I just want to say it's good. It's really good. Okay. We're to the 5th point, the 5th thing we're going to talk about today. Our first category was community. And under community, we had honesty, and accountability. Our second category was commitment. And under there we had structure, we had disciplines, and we had, well, the last one, breaking denial. Okay? Now, breaking denial, I don't know if you know what the word denial in a psychological sense means, but it's basically this. I just said that we build a lifestyle that supports porn. Denial is all the pieces in your life that do that. Okay? It's a structure that supports, it gives you justification for continuing in pornography. Okay? So denial, in one sense, it's very simply admitting the problem that you have. But in another sense, it's admitting all the systems that support you having that problem and justify you having that problem. In that way, it's an ongoing battle of breaking out of this. Now, right now, if you're watching this, you're either watching because you know somebody, well, maybe, I guess you could just be curious, but maybe you know somebody that needs these principles, or maybe you're trying to walk them out yourself. If you're trying to walk them out right now yourself, I want to say this to you. You have this opportunity, this moment, this little bit of clarity here to step out and into some of these principles, particularly telling someone your story. Everything in you is not going to want to do that because your system has learned, I got to keep him from sharing this with anybody, or else he'll not go back to porn. He'll be conflicted. He'll hurt even more. The shame will rise. And there's all these pieces inside of you that are calling out for you to not go do the most healthy thing for you, which is telling someone your story, telling someone what's going on. Okay? That is denial. We need to break that. You need to take this opportunity to step out and tell somebody. Do you need to tell the next person you see? No. Find someone healthy. Tell them. Okay? And if nothing else, I'm healthy. Feel free. Let's talk. Okay? Once that's happened, once you've told your story, again, that weight will come off. But these justifications will start rising in you again. And you'll start to see all the ways that you are convincing yourself that you needed this. Okay? It's really kind of mind-blowing how much of our life gets enslaved to our commitment to pornography. And if this doesn't apply to you, by the way, well, great. But for most of us, it's a very real thing. And I hope that you will look for those, seek those out, and when you find them, kill them dead. Break through the denial. Break through the justifications. You know? Oh, I just like scrolling Instagram in the evening. No, I'm looking for half-naked ladies. That's the reality. Break through denial. My problem, it really isn't so bad. I think that I looked like 3 days ago, but it's like, whatever. No. You're looking regularly. You're in a cycle of looking. Break denial. It's not really having an effect on me. Really? Because you're experiencing erectile dysfunction. Break denial. You get my point. What we're doing is applying the truth. We're applying reality to what's actually going on with us. And I'm not asking you to say something that's not true. Like, if you are only struggling once every, 6 months. If you're that guy, then maybe you can go and tell somebody, you know what, I'm having this go on, but calling yourself an addict, that'd be a bit of a stretch. It'd be a stretch. But maybe you can look at the conditions that are going on up to that and see what the justifications are. Every 6 months I've had this big event happen in my life or whatever. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Denial is something we need to break through and not let it have a hold on us again. That means we both have an opportunity right now to do that. And we have an ongoing responsibility. The truth is, this is what repentance is. If you're a Christian, you've heard the term repentance before, this is what it is. The word literally means to do a 180 and go the other direction. But that's what we're doing with denial. It's oh, there's the lie. I break that and the behaviors connected to it. I turn it around and I go towards truth. That's repentance. And so, in some sense, I'm calling you to admit the truth and perform repentance. Okay? So there's my 5 things. Under community, we've got honesty and accountability. Under commitment, we've got structure, disciplines, and breaking denial. What do you think? How do you feel about that? I tell you a little story here. About 6 months after I broke through and I started changing my life, and I told you that I come from kind of a fundamental background. About 6 months in, I was in worship, and I'm standing there, and I don't know what your church background is. Mine is hands at the side, right? When you're worshiping, hands are at the side, right? You just, everybody is nice and stiff. Well, as I'm worshiping, and I've been giving these things over to God, something enters me, fills me up. I swell with energy, and then realize God's in this place. And I began to weep. And when I say weep, I mean ugly cry, because of how ashamed I was that I had hurt him with this behavior for so long, and it created real trouble in my life from it. But I was realizing kind of what David realized: against you and you alone I have sinned, my God. And I had the most amazing worship experience that day, because I was able to be completely honest before God and give it to him and weep and cry. But at the same time, it transitioned into joy and love in receiving from him. It's moments like that, frankly, a relationship with God like that I hope that you can have. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. And God is very, very good. All right. Well, I wanted to make sure I made some time for questions at the end of this stream. So I had some pre-prepared here that I'd like to just go through real fast. And I've got 4. So someone has asked, this is questions I've compiled a little bit. You've given me some good things to think about. Can't I go work on it myself? Like, why can't this be an individual process? Well, the truth is because addiction to pornography is a disorder in our intimacy. And we cannot fix that by ourselves. Intimacy requires multiple people. And so if you want to start fixing this process, you're going to need to move into relationship with other people so that you can give and receive intimacy. And of course, we're not talking about sex. We're talking about the sharing of, as Dallas Willard likes to say, common enterprise. But the sharing of care for one another. I care about what happened to you this week. You cared about what happened to me. We're calling each other. We're engaging with one another. We matter to each other, and we're sharing that. It's not something you can do alone. I'm also going to be really real. If it was something you could do alone, you maybe have even heard people say this before, but if it was something you could do alone, wouldn't of you have done it already? That's a really great phrase. And it's the truth. It was true for me before I began this process, and it's true for you too. You probably would have done it already if you could do it by yourself. All right, second question. A lot of people have trouble with the amount of time that this takes, the level of commitment. So something like this might be in their heads. My life really doesn't have room for healing in it right now. Can't I wait till it's more convenient? For crying out loud. Right now it's Christmas season, it's a very busy time of the year for most people. Can't I wait? Well, here's the problem with waiting. Addiction grabs and makes a part of it everything we do, so long as we continue that addiction. So not going and doing something about this now means that this experience too will get wrapped in to your denial. In some sense, this will become yet another reason to act out. Think about it this way. You may think somebody might say something like this. I've been really working on getting rid of this porn thing. I even went to that how to start, training by Warfare of Grace that one time. And man, those principles just aren't working for me. Really? Are you connected with people? Are you living it out rhythmically? Do you have a curriculum? Do you have these things? The truth is, our addiction will grab hold of something that we've done and we'll flip it around until it's another justification to act out like, well, I guess I'm just bad enough, then I can't get better. I digress. I think you get the point. That waiting till it's more convenient, it's never convenient. Certainly, your addiction never thinks it's convenient. But also, this amount of change, it is a big ask. It's a big commitment. But now's the time. Right now. Okay. Next one. Somebody might ask, why didn't you say anything about accountability programs? Like, I don't know if you guys know about Accountable to You or Covenant Eyes or, X3 Church has one. There's or Bark or anyway, those guys who do maybe filtering for the internet or that sort of thing. Well, here's the deal. I don't have anything against those, and I think they're super helpful. I get guys' reports from Covenant Eyes frequently, and Covenant Eyes is really solid. However, accountability programs, while useful, are not a fix. Come on. Like, you and me both know, if you've got a relationship with pornography that, is compulsive, you'll find a way, okay? It's not like I need actual porn anyway. The point is this. Those are boundaries, and good ones, and you should have them. But it's not going to fix the problem. You can't just turn off the porn receptors or the lifestyle choices that develop that bottling of energy that eventually needs to take you to porn to act out. Okay? So accountability programs are great, and I hope you use them. And for the record, Covenant Eyes and other groups they've got great blogs, they've got great information. You can go and you can read and you can develop an awful lot. Covenant Eyes even has quite a few kind of ebooks and that sort of thing. Good stuff. Do that, please. But it's not a fix. Community is the fix. And Covenant Eyes will tell you that. They say, hey, it's great for you after this program, but the person that you're sending your accountability emails to now, that's the guy that's really going to help you, right? So, smart guys over there. So that's why I didn't say anything about that. I see them as helpful, but not a core component. The last one is a question. Any advice for ladies who are struggling with porn? Ladies, yes, it's a really big deal. Harry Schomburger, who I mentioned earlier, notes that in some areas of pornography, women are taking over as the viewers, what they're seeking out and that sort of thing. I could go into a long diatribe here about how I'm frustrated that the masculine dominating idea behind classic pornography has merged and is merging over into affecting so many of our ladies. But I'll just say this. Ladies, I don't work with ladies, but Pure Desire does. And if you want to start talking to somebody that can really help you, go to puredesire.org and talk to them and their specialists. They're amazing over there. Ladies, you have a path that's very similar in a lot of ways, somewhat different. You've got different things to recover. I would encourage you to take the same step, which is breaking out of denial and going and finding someone who is safe to communicate these things to. There are great curriculum for ladies now. And again, puredesire.org can help with that a ton. If you're a dude, feel free to go over to warfareofgrace.com. I'd love to connect with you and help you out of this situation. Till then, Guys, that's all I have for the day. I hope you were blessed by this. Sorry for the technical issue at the beginning. Glad I noticed. And I hope you guys have a blessed evening. Just remember, you are loved.